evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. You guys know I say the same thing every week, so you're probably sick of me being redundant, but it is my favorite day of the week. We know that I love Tuesdays because we're able to be here with you. Today, we're in a different location, so my background looks a little tropical, right? We are at Boricua Restaurant number 2 on Aramingo Avenue. If you are in Philadelphia, come down here. We are on Aramingo Avenue. This is the first time that we are live at a different location. We are here for a purpose and a reason, as we always are. We have the owner of the restaurant here with us today. He's going to explain why we are here. But before we do that, we want to remind folks why we sit in this space every Tuesday. If you or someone you know is dealing with any form of domestic violence, whether it's a friend, a foe, a family member, anyone, remember to have them reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Know that you can reach us at any of our social media platforms, as well as our website at loveshouldnothurt.com. The last time we were in this space, we spoke with Women Empowered. We had a bunch of amazing Latina women who are doing phenomenal things, and we were closing out Women's History Month. So it was a great time. But today I'm excited to actually be at a live location, but we are here, people, for a purpose. We were asked to come today for a reason, and there's always a reason behind what we do, correct? But today is extra special. So again, as I stated, we are here on Aramingo Avenue, right across from Walmart. Come on down to Boricua Restaurant number 2. Get some food because it's good. But before we get into the food, I want to bring on a really good friend of mine. We have known each other since we weren't as cute as we are now. We weren't cute back then. We've been friends for over 20 years. He is the owner of Boricua Restaurant 1 and 2. If you do not know him or his family, come into the restaurant because the food is bomb. I'm telling you, I eat it. That's why I'll never be a size 2. We have Hector Serrano with us today. I'm going to bring him on screen. He's going to let us know why he wanted us to come here tonight. Come on.
Thank you, Christina.
So tell us why you wanted us to come here.
So the reason why is because I see hundreds and thousands, actually thousands of women each day, married women, single women, and 3 women in 1 week came with their eyes black and blue. Unfortunately, out of the 3 of them I knew. And I've noticed that it was a kind of different mood with their partner or significant other. And I noticed that when I asked them, I said, hey, like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with your eye? And noticed the kind of shift that the partner kind of like gave that look like, you say something, wait till we get home. And that kind of scared me because these are ladies that I respect. These are ladies that I love and admire as well, that they kind of taken this abuse. And I told Christina, I said, how is this still going on with so many resources out there like yourself and like Joanna Otero Cruz that she's going to come on board? I said, they don't know, or they're afraid of, I'm assuming, that they can't just get up and go and who they're going to go to. Some of them might even feel ashamed of asking their mom for help. So I said, you know what? Let me call Christina. Let me have her retouch it to Joanna. There's safe havens out there. Women can get, shelter for 3 months. They can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner with their kids. You don't need to put up with these men or women because, again, it's not about a woman. It's not about a man. It's about whoever's being domestically abused. You have sources, and guess how much it costs you? Zero. Please reach out to her. Facebook DM. Joanna's going to jump on board. As a proud Boricua, Latino, and community leader, I'm asking for people that are watching me that I personally know that have been abused. I have 2 or 3 of my cousins that have been beaten that I would never in a million years think that they were beaten. And once they told me, the first thing that we wanted to do was go after the guy. But again, it's the normal response, but they're embarrassed. And I'm like, I'm not sure how to break that cycle, but that's why you started this organization, because you've been there and now you broke the cycle and you're helping women break that cycle. So it's frustrating, but yet sad when I see this going on. And I know this is a rhetorical question. Why do you think that still, after years and decades of so many programs and outlets out there, women still, even a strong, educated, woman like yourself that broke the cycle and started an organization, why do you think women are still going through this?
Well, I mean, it's a very easy answer. There's a lot of manipulation, and we talk about it on our show all the time. There's a lot of manipulation that goes, and there's a lot of people in the world who are the same way that I was. Self-esteem was very low. I didn't feel like I had resources. I didn't feel like I was worthy or loved in any way. So I think that unfortunately the cycle continues to go on because not enough women have allowed themselves to love themselves or even really feel like there's outlets out there for them. When I was going through it, I felt alone. You know, I had family, people who loved me, but you still feel alone when you're in this situation. And it's hard to explain unless you're in the situation physically, and kind of just living that life. You can understand it. But unfortunately, you know, this is why we're here. And fortunately, this is why we will continue to be here and continue to do what we do. Myself, Joanna, Officer, you know, Eddie Lopez, we're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to put it out there. And that's why we're excited to be here today. Not only because you wanted us here, because, you know, you asked and I'm here. But just because we want people in the community to know. And that's why I invited folks. If you want to come out, we're here. You can come talk to us.
Yes,
if you don't have the opportunity to come see us within the hour, I'm not going anywhere when we leave because I'm hungry. So you can come to the restaurant, come have a conversation with us. If not, there will be information left here with Women Against Abuse. Hector knows exactly how to reach me. So believe me, if you come here and you're looking for help, Hector is someone that you can lean on and you can say, listen, I need to talk to Christina. I need to reach out to Joanna. He knows how to reach us. So this is another outlet for folks. If you feel as though you're not sure how you can get help, you can come down. Hector, thank you.
Thank you.
For coming.
And I do want to say again that Joanna's leaving some information here at Boricua Restaurant. So by her leaving this information, ladies, if you feel as though, and I'm being as genuine and sincere as possible, even if you come with your husband, your wife, or men, if you come in with your partner, significant other that is abusing you, please discreetly just can you give me the information? I'll pass on the information that Joanna's given to me. There are safe havens. I will give you Christina and Joanna's number. Reach out to them. You don't have to tell me anything. I'm just here to help you guys with the resources that is out there in our community in this city as well. So thank you, Christina.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, as we always do lately, right, folks, because I'm obsessed with TikTok. We're going to open the show with a video that'll have a few of you thinking about it. When we come back, we're going to have two phenomenal folks joining beside me. Great, put that video.
You can't make people do right by you, but you can decide how often you let them do you wrong. And you keep letting them do you wrong. You get indignant and upset and hurt and destroyed. He's tearing up your self-esteem. You can't, you feel horrible all the time, but you continue to choose to do so. As if he's going to change. Why would he change? You never leave. If you're afraid you just can't get another dude, because I know the market's tight, I get that part. But if you're afraid you'll never get another dude, isn't it better to be happy and whole and feel good about yourself by yourself than it is to feel low and degraded and unloved with another dude? Not to mention, he can give you diseases. It's not a loss. You can be happy on your own. You really can. You do not need a man to define you. A man should be an option, not a definition.
Woohoo! I love that video, people. I am obsessed with TikTok. When I should be in bed, I'm scrolling through TikTok. So that was a great video. I think it was phenomenal because I tell you, when I watch that video, I feel like I'm rewatching my life. I think a lot of the reasons why I stayed in my relationship for 6 years was because, one, the market was tight. Two, I honestly didn't think I could do better. But anyway, we'll get away from that video. It was phenomenal. Thank you for sharing. I have two amazing people with me. To my left and your right is Joanna Otero Cruz. She is the executive director and president of Women Against Abuse. To my right, your left, we have Officer Eddie Lopez. He is a Philadelphia police officer, and he has been on the force for over 20 years. There are two of the people that when I need help, I just texted her the other day at 10 o'clock at night. So when I need people to lean on, these are the people that I stalk. I've been stalking him for 3 or 4 days now. So we are absolutely excited to have them here with us today. Before we get into, discussions, I want them to tell you what it is that they do. Joanna, you go first. Tell us what you do at Women Against Abuse.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Christina. And Women Against Abuse is a nonprofit organization. We focus on really saving lives. Individuals who are confronting domestic violence, intimate partner violence. we provide ongoing services. So everything from immediate crisis support through our hotline. So in multi-language, whether it's English, Spanish, over 180 languages spoken in Philadelphia, we can provide that service. Sometimes people call us just because they have questions. They don't know, how to navigate a system that can be very complex. We do it in a way that's non-judgmental from where the person is. And then we provide shelter, or what we call safe havens, for individuals who need to leave immediately, where, when they reach a point like enough is enough, basta, they call us and we are able to, coordinate transportation and make sure that they're in a safe place for themselves and their children. And we provide services to all genders. And we also have housing and transitional services, because we know that crisis is immediate, but then there's long-term, right? That recovery and ongoing support that's necessary. So whether you're in your home through our safe programs at home, or whether you're in one of our transitional housing program. And of course, sometimes court is involved. And so we do have a legal center where we provide support for individuals who may have to go through a criminal case, or in some cases through family court. Sometimes children are involved in child custody, or whether or not I get a PFA, a protection from abuse order, or a sexual violence protection order. Depending on what the needs are, our legal center can assist with that as well.
Awesome. That was a mouthful, but hopefully you can rewatch later and hear everything she said, or you can go to their website. So Eddie, tell us about you. Tell us how long you've been on the force and the contact you've had with these types of situations.
So again, I'm police officer Eddie Lopez. I've been on the job now 32 and a half years. President of SALEA now, the Spanish American Law Enforcement Association, for the past 9 years now. Before that, I was vice president for 6 years. So everybody knows SALEA has been in existence now in the community for over 55 years now. So we work with the community tight. So a lot of people come to SALEA for help, or, we go into the schools, we talk to the kids, whatever. Myself and Christina now have been working together for like 2 years now. Mm-hmm. When she needs help, whether looking for a suspect or something, she contacts me and we try to work with her and try to get help for the victims, and try to get these bad individuals off the street.
That's a nice way to say it.
Yes.
So I see this every day, right? And you see it every day. This is like your every single day, right? And I get emails and I get text messages all the time. So the first thing that comes to people's mind when they talk to me all the time is, how do you deal with this stress when you go home? Like, are you reliving this? And it's, I don't know how hard it is for you, but it's difficult for me to turn it off. I don't sleep. If I took my glasses off, you would see my bags. I don't sleep. It's something that's too consistent. And this is why we're saying, if you wanted to come in here today and ask any questions of us, please do so, because I go to sleep worried about all of you every day. There's a case right now that Eddie's helping me with. It's been very open all over social media. It's terrible, and it's like an everyday occurrence. And, what people don't understand is domestic violence is not something that's minor. What people have thought, especially in our community, we're Hispanics, we're, minorities, they think lo que pasa en la casa se queda en la casa. But people don't realize that eso se queda en la casa y te daña. You stay home, you're eating it up inside, you're going through depression, you're going through all this craziness, and it's hard. So if there's people who are watching today, right, directly for you, Joanna, there's people who are watching today and say they're getting beaten up at like 3 a.m, what would be their process if they wanted to get help from your organization?
So what I would always say, if someone's in immediate danger where children themselves are physically getting, hurt, I would always call 911. Yeah. Because that is extremely important, that, the physical safety has to come first. In an event that an individual finds it, okay, they're not at that point where they have to call 911, but it is still a very curious position, then they can call our hotline. And I've been holding this card up, but, our hotline is 1-866-723 and then 3014. And I think, again, any language, so en inglés, en español, en japonés, en cualquier idioma, pueden llamar y ahí, they'll do safety planning with you. They'll assess kind of like where the person is at. So is it imminent that that person has to leave right there and then? Is it best to call the police in this situation? Is it best to plan to ensure that the individual has, all the paperwork that they need, or, again, create a safety plan so that they can exit with minimizing as much risk as possible. So every case is so unique, and I say that all the time. Every case is so unique. It's not always as easy as pick up and go. And so our DV counselors are trained, one, to treat everyone with that uniqueness, and to treat everyone with respect and integrity so that they're not passing judgment on that person. Well, why did you wait so long to leave? That is not something you should ever hear from our domestic violence counselors. And if you do, you definitely need to give me a call, because we need to figure that out quickly. But it's really taking it from that standpoint of, where are you at? What is the best safe way? And what is it that the person wants to do? Believe it or not, sometimes people call our hotline and all they're trying to figure out is like, I'm not ready to leave yet.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay safe with my kids in my home.
Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I support my kids not to intervene? Because police would tell you that is one of the biggest harms to kids. So it's like, how do you talk to your kids about this? Could you imagine being in that position, having to talk to your kids about if mommy's getting abused physically, you're not to intervene, and what measures they should take to keep everyone safe? Tremendous burden on a child, but it's very important to have those conversations. That's what we're trained to do. And that's where I tell individuals, start there, start with the hotline.
There goes the domestic violence hotline, folks. If you guys need it at any point, make sure that you reach out to that hotline. Eddie, what's been your experience with domestic violence cases in the past? You've been on the force for so long. I'm sure you've seen everything.
Well, like I said in your last show, I was actually traumatized when I was younger. I stood over, my mother and father went out, and I stood with some babysitters, and he would literally beat her up every day. So that traumatized me, and ever since then, I don't like the scene of it, don't like hearing about it. It's a real touchy thing for me. First of all, I don't believe not just a woman, anybody should put your hands on anybody, especially a woman. To me, I've always said that a woman is God's gift to us. So a woman should not ever put a hand on her. If you feel that bad at home that you got to put your hands on her, it's time to leave. It's time to pack up and find another one. Just like there's plenty of men out there, plenty of women out there, even though the market's tight. So, but as my experience on the job, I've had plenty of calls on that. And, and I've gotten one of the worst ones I've had, the poorest excuse I've ever got was, I asked the gentleman, why did he beat up his wife? We had to send her to the hospital with broken ribs. And his reason was she didn't cook for him today. And, that can actually burn you up, put you on to another high level. But as a professional, as a police officer, you got to put that aside. You just do your job. You lock the individual up. And you hope she press charges, and you hope that the court system puts him away. Does it do it all the time? No. But I like to say, I just spoke to one of my members who works with domestic violence, and one of the advice she gave me today, which is a great one, even though I give my members always paper trail. Yeah. One of the biggest problems we have is that when an individual or female calls for or the neighbor calls 911 for a domestic dispute. When the officers get there, she does not, like you said, she's scared. She's scared for her kids, scared for her family. She don't want to make a report and says, everything's okay, I'm okay. Well, you know what? Guess what? No. Make the report. Even make a paper trail, because sometimes it can be written as unfounded. Nobody answered the door. If you didn't answer the door, make some kind. If you got injuries, go to the hospital. Yeah. Keep that paper trail. And I'll tell you why, because she told me today, and it was a great advice. So she had this individual who went to her. She interviewed her. She wanted no charges pressed on her. She wanted to make it work. Well, again, the guy came, beat her up, assaulted her. She had to defend herself, and that's as far as we're going to go on that. She defended herself, and now she's going
perpetrator.
Now she's the bad person here. So she had to go and say, whoa, hold up. I've been abused, but okay, where's the, did you call 911? Did you go to the doctors? Did you take pictures? So one of the advice they gave, and it was great, paper trail, take photos. If you got injured, go to the doctors, even though you don't want to call 911 at that time. go to the doctors, get those medical. They can see the injuries. And God forbid you have to protect yourself. And please understand, I'm not saying do anything, but God forbid you have to protect yourself or your kids. Have that proof that this individual has been abusing you.
Yeah.
And, Saleh has always been in the community and we're going to continue being in the community. This is one of my things I would back 100%. Saleh would back 100%. We'll continue working with Christina, and we're both, and we'll do what we got to do. But I'm glad we'll put it up on our website. We're 100% involved in this.
One of the things you just mentioned, Eddie, is that, with reporting and domestic violence providers, specifically WAB, Women Against Abuse, we actually work with the police. We actually have someone who was a retired detective and who's been working with us for, I don't know how many years, many, many years. But when reports are made, you guys call them the DB-48, high lethality cases, or individuals that have these are high risk and maybe that person didn't want to pursue it or something, we get those reports and we actually follow up with you. We actually say, hey, you mentioned that there was choking involved, which we know can lead to strangulation. There's so certain things is they're stalking nowadays, right? It's not cute for somebody to be putting the 360 on you and all of a sudden appears where you at. I mean, that stalking behavior is not cute. And I say that it's very, very dangerous, red flags. And so we get those reports and we follow up. So a TV advocate will call you and say, we noticed this type of report, there's services involved. So there is that outreach that happens because we believe that we can criticize our police all we want. And we know that domestic violence survivors, sometimes, the last people they want to call is police. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, that's the first person I advise you to call if there is a lethal, situation where you're at physically harm's way. So we have to work with police. We have to work collaboratively. They have been great at really understanding the trauma, the impact of the survivor, so that when they're responding, they can have more of that empathy. And so we work in collaboration. So that's one of the reasons we do it, because we need those reports to reach out, because we know that it's not easy to pick up the phone and even call the hotline sometimes, even though nobody's going to see you. We don't even have to know your name. If you choose not to, you can call anonymously and just ask the questions. There's never a stupid question.
I'd like to add something if I could.
Sure, of course.
So 2 things. If you get an officer to the house and you feel you're not getting the service, please dial 911 again. Ask for a supervisor. That is your right. You may get an officer that may be, not sensitive to you or something. It happened. He or she may have a bad day. That's fine. Call for a supervisor. You're entitled for a supervisor. Call for a supervisor. The other thing, and I've said it before in the last show, is please, ladies, what I will say is, do not put these false things on a lot of your husband, boyfriends, or something like that. If you have a protection order, and you can get that 24 hours a day. If you get a protection order, please do not get a protection order. And I had a case like that where 2 weeks you wanted to go a protection order against you, and then 2 weeks later you're having him buying groceries for you. You have him over the week. Well, guess what? You violated that protection order yourself too. And then when you feel it's wrong, you don't want to turn around and say, call 911, which again, it happened to me. So I want him locked up because he violated a protection order. But he was with you for the week buying you groceries. It's not right. So it should be fair on both sides. And let's make it clear too. Women are not the ones always abused. We do have men that get abused by the women too. And I've seen that.
Yeah. We actually have, thanks for saying that. Obviously, the majority of our clients tend to be women, but we serve all genders. And that goes for our safe havens as well. So, our safe havens are every program that we provide services to. We know that men are also victimized. And that goes for our transitional housing program too. Because you do see cases where they have, the custody is to the non-offender, which could be the male.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned running this organization. When we originally posted our documentary, we invited obviously the community to come out, everybody to come out and watch it. And if you look at our sign-in sheet, there were more men there than there were women who came out, and it blew me away. When I looked out into the audience when we first did our documentary, I was like, okay, there were so many men in the audience and so many men. And this is something that I just said the other day when I was on. I've been to about 10 different networking events in the past few weeks. And men are the ones that come to me and they say, we're proud of what you're doing. We're positive. We support you. That's major for me because I have family members. I have friends that are males that think what I'm doing is crazy. They say that I'm just bitter and that I'm still stuck on my past. So when a gentleman comes to me and says, what you're doing is, amazing, we support you, it's huge for me. And even more so when we started this organization, my inbox, I said all the time on shows, my inbox is blowing up. 60% of those inbox messages were men in the community that were going through domestic violence. So that's a huge
So the statistic nationally is like 1 in every 4 women unfortunately experiences domestic violence, and 1 in 10 men. So, it's alarming, but it is definitely, affects everybody across, no matter what, however you identify, and across every socioeconomic, continuum that there is.
Absolutely. So before we get into the DV lines, a reminder, there's one thing huge that I want to say because Eddie is here. I want everybody to know that there's so much negativity, and this is why I continue to bring Eddie onto my show. There's so much negativity about police officers. And I want everyone to know that we are 100% behind the Philadelphia Police Department. They have been a major help for myself and my organization. Whenever I pick up the phone, whether it's Eddie or it's my other friend Jake, whoever it is that I call from the Philadelphia Police Department, whether it's a detective or a direct police officer who's in the street, they answer my calls quickly. Shout out to Gloria Toledo, who actually is in the 35th district. Same thing. I was on a trip, I was in Chicago. I called her. I said, I need something to happen. I need someone served. She immediately was out there. So, there's so much negativity and just things that happen, and you guys are always like, let's not support. Well, guess what? When something happens, that's the first people that you're going to look for to call. So remember that. They have been a very key component of what it is that we do at Love Shouldn't Hurt. And I want to say that with you here because I want people to know that, negativity is, we see it in the media, but all that's posted is the negativity of what happens on a day-to-day basis. They don't see this. They don't see the positivity of how those individuals help us. We have a question that was posed there, but before we do that, Ray, let's put up that domestic violence hotline again for people who are watching from everywhere. There you go. That's the that's the domestic violence hotline here in Philadelphia, 1-866-723-3014. If you guys want help and you are in Philadelphia, the national line we post at the bottom every week because we don't know where you're watching from. Wherever you are, you can reach out any time of the day, 1-800-799-7233, any of our social media platforms, as well as loveshouldnothurt.com. And something that I always say on my shows that people are like, I didn't know that. If you call and you are in imminent danger and the person is in the room with you, you can still dial 911. Call them and ask them for a pizza. Call them and ask them for something. The people on the other line are trained. They will know something is wrong and they will ask you the specific questions they need so that they can help you and assist you in that time of need. So make sure, people, that you reach out to those folks. Ray, let's put that question back up that you put there. That's an interesting question. How has domestic violence cases changed since COVID started? I know that you just took this position in November, right? November is when you began, right? So it's been a short time. We still, though, are in the times of COVID, not in the craziness of it when it first began. Have you seen, since you've been there, shifts?
Yeah, so we actually, nationally, the numbers of domestic violence actually increased by 8%. However, here in Philadelphia, we actually saw a decline in services to individuals wanting to leave, meaning to shelter. Prior to the pandemic, to be honest, we couldn't keep our beds open. There's 2 safe havens with 100 beds for a city that is, almost 1.6 million people. So unfortunately, our police officers have to respond to over 100,000 calls a year to domestic violence. So that tells you disproportionately, there's never enough resources. Throughout the pandemic, actually, we were able to remain, despite the fact that we had to decrease capacity, we still actually were able to service individuals. Now, that does not mean that domestic violence wasn't happening,
right?
But individuals were asked to stay home where they're perpetrating.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that the Women Against Abuse did is they opened up a chat line. So at least if you couldn't talk, but you felt like you can get on computer or on your phones if it was safe, and you can do a chat. It would immediately erase afterwards. But that was something that we did to just at least provide additional safety tips. So we definitely saw increases in terms of just general calls to our hotline, but in terms of accessing services, we definitely saw a decline. Now, move forward, now that we're going into the endemic, although the health department doesn't like us to say that. So still during this pandemic, our census are going up. Now for our legal services, definitely remain status quo, meaning that people were still getting protection from abuse orders or stay away orders in some cases, and as soon as the course opens up in April, it's all full throttle now, So unfortunately, we are seeing that, yes, it did increase. One statistic that is true, also, unfortunately, what we're getting a lot of reports of is that sexual violence increased during the pandemic. Many of the individuals say for them to stay safe, they actually had to or felt obligated to adhere to sexual violence to keep the children safe. So that it still gives me chills all throughout my body, because when I hear those stories about how resilient people are to and how selfless they are to provide to be re-victimized to keep everyone in the household safe, it just really chokes me up.
Right. And that's something that people also did not realize is a form of domestic violence. I think the key thing that people think when they think of domestic violence is just being hit. There's so many other forms, but they just think of being hit. Like if he doesn't hit me, I'm not dealing with domestic violence. And things like that are forms of it as well, because if you're terrified that this person may hurt you, so you're like, okay, I'll have sex with you. We'll do whatever it is that you want. That's another form of mental abuse and all of the above. So if that is something that you're dealing with, people, these are all examples that we consistently try to make apparent to you, because some people are watching and at times they just think, well, he doesn't hit me, so I'm not going through abuse. There's so many other forms: keeping your money from you, financial abuse, mentally going after everything they know that you hate. I don't like my weight. I don't like the way my hair looks. And constantly telling you, well, you're lucky that I'm with you, and you're lucky that you're here. The next man won't be with you, making you feel like you need that person. You can't have money from them. You have to live off of that person. There was another question that went up there, Ray, from Carmen Gonzalez. Let's see that question. What kind of plan should they have? How much money should they save? That's a great question, Carmen. I think at this point, there's a lot of folks who want like an exact number, like how much money do I need? How much money do I need? That's why organizations like Concilio, Women Against Abuse, Congreso, those programs that have funds who can help you get out at the time that you need the help. I cannot give you an exact number, because the living conditions, everything, the economy has gone up. We cannot give you a number. What I can say is this: if you decide that you want to leave, don't think about what you have in your pocket. Don't think about how much money I've saved. Just get out. That's why organizations like ourselves are here, because once you're out, we're going to find a way to help you, but just get out. Do not get stuck on, I have to stay home until I raise $5,000. I need to stay with him until I raise $10,000, because during that time is when it can become lethal for you. It can become a bad situation, worse than what it already is. So don't think of, I need to make sure I have enough. What I will say is this, and we've said this before, and I think that your organization says this to folks as well: just have a plan of action. Find your safe haven, meaning it could be a person, one family member if I call her at 3:00 in the morning, she's going to answer the phone. Make a bag. If you have children, they need formula, they need crib or playpen, whatever it is. Start making a plan of action. Put a playpen at someone's house. Put clothes for the baby there. Put clothes for yourself there, so that if at 3 in the morning I need to get up, you're out. You're not worried about what's left behind. You're just out and you're there. I always tell folks to make that plan. If they're like, I don't know what to do, I have so much stuff, make yourself a bag. Get yourself ready to go so that you're ready to go.
Well, I was just going to add, what you're mentioning, Christina, is all part of a safety plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really important.
Right.
Those are very important, realistic, concerns as to why many people stay in a relationship, for sure. And that's why we actually have a program called Safer at Home sometimes. Sometimes individuals can remain at home, and it's safer where they're doing that economic and opportunity kind of safety plan, so that when they transition, because if they're able to do that, right? And the reason why I say if they're able, because many people oftentimes stay, I'm staying because of the kids. Lo voy a traumatizar, right? And they have a certain lifestyle or this or that or whatever reasons. And so part of incorporating and having that conversation with a DV advocate, to look at, and what's your goal? What is it that you are trying to determine? Then they can incorporate that into the safety planning.
Absolutely. There were 2 questions for Eddie. They were good questions. Ray, give us one of those questions. Will a mother be considered kidnapping her child if she leaves the man?
It's a tough one. You're still married with the individual, or you're just boyfriend, girlfriend, and you leave with the individual, with your child. It's not considered a kidnapping, but you still want to notify the law. You still want to make a report of it, that you left for the reason that you got physically abused, and you want to get a lawyer. Most definitely get a lawyer involved to get custody away from him or her. You know what I mean? Keep it open on that.
And
But
sometimes it's shared custody. I would say call the legal center.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just want to add this, I was involved with a friend of mine's, and he had a daughter. He still has a daughter, obviously. He had a daughter. She was physically getting beat up. She wouldn't reach out to the mother and father because, that pride. I left bad with mom and dad. I'm like, she finally broke down, reached out to mom and dad. As much as dad was upset with her, he went and rescued her. While he was at work, he went and picked up his baby girl. It's very emotional because it's a good friend of mine. He rescued her, and he got her out, and she's happy now.
Yeah.
She's living a great life. She got her own home. She's got the baby with her. Her husband's away. She's not physically being touched anymore. So I've seen it. Friends, family. You gotta have, just like you said, you gotta have that person you can go to. But I've always said, mom and dad are always number one. Your brothers, sisters. Find that friend that can help you out. Doesn't always have to be a family. It can be that close friend. I know personally, everybody sees me on Facebook. I got what we call Brothers for Life. I can call them up and boom, they're at my door helping me out in a second. Find that friend.
I think one of the important things that Joanna said and Eddie said, I think you both said it actually, is the paper trail. Because
Yes.
it's going to be important in those situations. Because if you do not have custody, and I'm going to say this from my own personal experience, if you do not have custody, the paper trail is going to be important, super important.
Yes.
What I did not know is, I gave birth to my child. She came from me. When I decided I wanted to leave and I spoke to a police officer, they said to me, she's not yours. Who has custody? And I'm like, I gave birth to her. She's mine. And then I quickly learned, you might have gave birth to her, but by the court system, she does not belong to you. So something that I always say, it's difficult when you're in a marriage. Clearly, you're in a marriage. You're married to the person. But if you are not married to the person you're with, your partner, this is in general sense, people, even if you're not in a domestic abuse relationship, make sure that the lines of custody are very, very clear. It doesn't have to be negative, but go to the court. Make sure that you file for custody, because I gave birth to my child. But when I left, I was told, he is hers as well, because I did not want her to visit her father. And I was told, he is hers as well. You do not have full custody. You cannot make that determination. So do not let it hinder you from leaving, because if you have that paper trail and you have pictures, you are going to be protected, but make sure you file for custody. She made another comment. I think Ray put it up there and it was gone. She says, I was told if I left that I would go to jail because the kids weren't mine. I don't think she would have went to jail. Fear was put in my heart. I think that was a form of manipulating her as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure who told you that, but it is very complex. We're seeing many complicated cases. So that's why I always tell people to get a consultation from
Yes.
a family law attorney, because not every attorney knows family law
Yes.
when there is domestic cases. And, they, as you mentioned, the father has rights just as much as the parent, the mother. And unfortunately, if that child, and we can talk about trauma all day and how they may witness it and vicarious trauma, we can talk about that all day. They're not going to see it that way.
Yeah.
So if that child, unless that child, has been severely child abused, that parent has not relinquished their rights. And that parent, and sometimes in even our temporary orders, sometimes is not the best option to put it in there. So, that's why we say not in every case, is depending on the cases. Child custody is much more complex, and sometimes not having it there gives you more leeway than if you actually have it in there, right? And so it really does make a difference. So speak to an attorney. We do, again, you can call the hotline. You can visit our website, www.womenagainstabuse.org. You can go onto the chat to our legal center. They will call you back and they will have a consultation with you depending on what you need. But child custody is complex.
It is.
Whether you're married or whether you're not, unfortunately.
And never fair. Not always fair. Let's put it that way. It's not always fair.
I speak from personal experience. It was difficult. Right, there was another question up there for Eddie. Let's see what that question was. I saw it earlier. He posted it. We were talking. Does the police department work closely with any DV organizations besides me, domestic violence? Do you work with any other organizations?
Personally, Saleh, no, just with you and Joanna. But special victims, they do.
And as I mentioned earlier, we definitely have an ongoing relationship with the police. But we provide all the domestic violence training for the new officers, as well as detectives. And, so we have an ongoing law enforcement, I should say, because it's not just the police. And as I mentioned, we work with them on all high lethality cases. So we do get, those reports, and then we follow up with the individuals, because the police, it's law enforcement. They have a specific job to do. That follow-up of social services, that's what we do. And so they identify like, hey, this is the case, it's as if I'm talking to Christina, this DV report came in yesterday. It talked about strangulation and choking. I mean, they didn't want to pursue it or whatever the case is, but they might need some help. So we'll reach out and follow up to see if they want any services. We share with them what it is that we're able to support them with. And oftentimes, actually, individuals open up. That doesn't mean they have to take action right there and then if they choose not to, but at least they know what options are available. So if they choose to later take a decision, they can.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that today has been super informative. If there are any questions that people have, I encourage you to continue to send it to our page. You can go to Women Against Abuse website. You can send them a message as well. We are obviously an outlet for everyone here today. If you want to reach out to Joanna personally, but you don't know her personally, you can absolutely send me a message. I will contact Joanna to let her know, but always, visit their website. You can reach them. Obviously, same thing for Eddie. He's all over social media. You can find him at his Latin nights once a month. But the rest of the police department, they have been a huge support to us. Is there any final words? We're at the 45 mark. So normally what I do is I go off the screen. You can't take me off the screen because we're right here. But I'll do you one by one. Is there any final thoughts or anything that you want to say to folks who are watching about what they should do if they want to reach out to you guys or anything else?
What I would say is that domestic violence is real. It happens it can happen to people you love, people that are close to you, maybe happening to you. Know that services are available in a way that's non-judgmental. Never be fearful to call, ask questions, and that you don't have to go through it alone, because it's tough. It's tough, and it's not seamless. We understand that it's complex, and systems are complex, and courts are complex and scary. So you don't have to go at it alone.
Absolutely. Eddie, any final
I would
words?
add, just, think about number one, you. Just remember you are number one. You and your kids are number one. If that individual is not providing, is not doing for you, then what we always say in Spanish, we can do worse on our own. That individual, get rid of it. If it can't help you, then they got to go. But just think about you and your kids, especially kids. If you have kids, and everything you do in life reflects on your kids. So just remember that.
Absolutely. Well, today has been informative to me as well, because as I say, it's this continued learning process for myself as I go through this organization and as I've lived it for 6 years and unfortunately was a victim of nearly being killed. So it's something that it's a consistent learning thing for me. I learn more about Joanna's organization every day. I do not know everything. People come to me all the time and I'm like, I will get back to you on that. So it is a learning process. And, you know, I'm grateful to have supports of both of them who are huge in our community and that can help us. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. For the ones that are saying that you keep holding on to this, they're a bunch of fools. Because of her, she's helping people out there, and I applaud her for that.
I second that. That is
For
very
those who
true.
say she's holding on, they're fools, because without her, people wouldn't get help. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We will be here next week, people, with another show, not here, but on this screen, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Join us. Ray, let's put that flyer up, people. Ba-da-ba-da. Our 5K is May 14th. So join us. Come out. We will be at Edison High School track. This is our second Love Run 5K. We will be there from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There are 2 ways to pay. They're on the flyer. Look at any of our social media websites. You can go to Concilio as well to get the information. We will be there, and we will again be honoring all of those victims that we have lost prior. So if you have a loved one that you have lost due to domestic violence, my email is at the bottom of that screen, Christina@loveshouldnothurt.com. Please send their photos our way. We are going to post them all around that field so we can remember them and remember why we are there that day. So join us on May 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Edison High School track. Thank you guys for being here. Another great night. Thank you for everyone who is watching. I see the numbers going up and down. I hope that you have learned something if you joined us late. This is Joanna Otero Cruz. She is the Executive Director and President from Women Against Abuse.
Thank you.
And this is the President of Salea, Officer Eddie Lopez, who has been on the force 32 years.
32.
Man, I was only like 10 years old. They are
Just a
in
number.
our community in Philadelphia. Look, Dan. They're in the Philadelphia
He forgot
community.
to mention he was like 14, right, when you joined the force.
He
15.
was a young buck. It was a young buck. We thank you, Hector. I don't see him. He's somewhere in the restaurant, but we thank you, Hector, and his family, Jasmine, his sister, who allowed us to be here today in the community. Again, if you have not had some authentic Puerto Rican food, come down to Boricua restaurant number 2. Visit them. Their food is phenomenal. We are here today because of Hector. Again, if you need any information, you need to contact any of us. Hector has information here for Joanna, for Women Against Abuse. Love Shouldn't Hurt. Anything you want. And listen, you were supposed to come out here today to get free Phillies tickets, so I don't know. Hit up Hector. Tell him you were watching the show. Maybe he'll send you some free Phillies tickets. Anything else you guys want to say?
Just
Well,
thank you
thank
for all
you.
the work that you're
Yes.
doing.
Thank you guys for being so supportive. We'll see you guys next week. We love you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.